Hello and welcome everybody to this very special episode of your esports, average esports podcast. So, I'm all dizzy already. My name is Kim. I'm your host for today, and we're bringing this live to you. Not really live; it's actually a YouTube video. But this is a very special episode. I have the worst setup in the history of setups, and I don't know. It's super late, but Steven and I decided to do this anyway. We wanted to do a TI7 preview after all because it's the greatest event of of all time so far, at least. And yeah, as I said, joining me is Steven. How's it going, man?
What's up?
Yeah, let's just head right into it, I guess. Group stage is going to start off soon. The prize pool is currently at 23 million roughly. So first place already takes home $10 million. So this makes TI by far the biggest esports event of all times, so far anyway. Just a quick thought. How do you feel about the prize pool? Like the 10 million.
I don't care. I mean, here's the thing. Like at some point, it does. At some point, there's like a level where like it stopped interested in me, and I think that was like 3 TIs ago. All I care about is the fact that everybody cares about TI the most. So that's why the highest pressure stakes are always for Dota 2 are always going to be at TI, and that's the shit I want to see.
Yeah, I agree with that notion. I think it was, I'm not sure, somebody made the point, it's great to have like, obviously, the first few TIs were great, going from like 1.6 million or 1.1 million, whatever, to 3 million. That was huge, right? We're going to 6 million, it was huge, but, going from 20 million to 22 or from 22 to 23, it's not really that big of a deal anymore.
I mean, I guess I'll give a shout out to those journalists who like have nothing else better to write about. I mean, yeah.
All right. I guess we're just heading straight into the group stage. The groups have been drawn, 2 groups of 9. They're going to do a round robin. And, well, we have some interesting groups, I want to say. I guess we're going to go ahead with Group A, just because, for order's sake. We have iG in Group A together with Team Liquid. Those are the 2 invited teams. I guess together with, well, actually, no. These are the only invited teams in this group. Together then with TNC, iG.Vitality, LGD, Fnatic, Secret, Empire, and Infamous. How do you feel about Valve? You coming from CS:GO, how do you feel about the fact that the Dota 2 team from Valve doesn't care about previous majors or tournaments and just seeds based on the current strength?
I wish they did that in CS:GO. That's what I wish. So many problems could be solved. Not so many, but a few of them could be solved by just seeding like this. I don't know why. Here's the weird thing about the entire subject. It's like like people keep giving me the theory. Yeah, man, Dota 2 and CS:GO, they're 2 different teams. Yeah, we know that, but they want to do things differently. I don't actually believe that's the case. I actually think the CS:GO guys want to do something differently, whereas the Dota 2 guys are like, whatever, we'll just use whatever's good. Oh man, that major system's good. We'll take that, and then like a year later, oh, that Swiss system looks pretty good. I'll take that and I'll improve it. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? I need the Dota 2 guy to work on the CS:GO stuff, but it's 100%. A flat system. He can work whatever he wants.
100%. That is actually, yeah, I'm so glad that they're doing this. Imagine if they had done it like in CS:GO, we would probably have another invited team here to have like an even split. And I don't know.
That would be terrible.
It would be very terrible. And it would also, seed OG as the number 1 going into all of this, but I think Valve has sort of made it clear that OG is probably not the number 1 team right now. By grouping them with 3 other invited teams, and by having iG and Team Liquid over there, I don't know. To me, it looks like iG is probably the top tier team right now.
Yeah, that probably means they're gonna lose.
Potentially.
I mean. Everybody brings up the fact that when you go into TI as a favorite, you're bound to lose. That's generally most people attribute it to the fact that everybody has like a target on your back. But I also think it's the fact that you have this is already like the most pressure-filled event, and then on top of that, you're going in as the favorite. Like, oh, we have to win this one. Oh, this is our best chance to win this one, and then you kind of fuck yourself up in the head. And then on top of that, we have Arteezy.
The man who's yet to win a TI. It's kind of crazy. But at the same time, you could look.
Is it really crazy though? I mean, he should have stuck with God Emperor PPD. It's all I'm gonna say about that.
There's definitely a lot of players that you look at and think to yourself, hey, why have they, or how have those players not won a TI yet? I mean, Kuro, Team Liquid, is one of them.
Well, it's pretty close, but
pretty close is
Not the
enough.
same. Yeah.
Not enough.
I mean, there's only so many TI winners, and and the thing about Dota 2 as like a scene is because it's not stagnant. Like how do I explain this? It's not like it's not like Melee in the sense that there's like a limited like player pool, and it's like a very long lasting game that has no changes to it. So like there's constantly more players coming in, there's constantly more countries coming in, and then the fact that like the patches keep changing the game means that TI, like I said this before, it's like half luck. You have to have you have to be good, obviously, but you also have to have like the right circumstances running your way.
Oh, of course, yeah. But this is again, I mean, not to do like the whole Dota versus CS:GO thing, but that's why I like the fact that Dota or TI specifically has this very extensive format. I think doing like a large group stage like this over the course of 4 or 5 days or something really makes sure that sure you could potentially draw like an opponent that's very unlucky, but hey, there are like 7 other opponents in your group as well, so there's no excuse really for any team here to not make it.
Yeah, I've never heard of anybody complaining except for TI4.
Yeah, TI4 definitely was an event, and even at TI4 though, a lot of teams said, hey, the large group stage wasn't actually that bad, and the bubble race technically could have worked if certain things had been different, and also the fact that they played out the winners bracket finals pretty much on the day one. I think that was also awful, but overall even that wasn't as bad as other formats. Again, not to get into the whole CS:GO has awful formats thing, but
that's true.
All right, Group A. I mean, Valve probably has them as number one, but how do you feel about Evil Geniuses and at this event in general, but also Group A?
I don't see a reason not to like see them as number one, but like here the entire point of this group seeding system, like here's a smart thing about Valve when it comes to this particular format is, not only do they have like 2 groups where like you already give them initial seeds, but the whole entire group stage is in itself a seeding system also.
True.
So that's what makes it good, is because we will, by the end of it, we really will see who is the best. Like going into it, I would say EG's probably has the best contention for that claim, but by the end of it, who knows? Like, and here's the thing. Like, I feel like this will potentially hurt EG because I still don't think Crit is like a very adaptive captain. Like, I don't think he learns throughout like a tournament compared to somebody like PPD or somebody like Q, for instance. Like, well, I guess Q might be a strange instance just because like nobody adapted to him until it was too late.
How do you feel about then? If we do say that Crit is not as adaptive of a captain as other captains, how do you feel about then Evil Geniuses in such a large group stage versus 8 other teams? Do you think this works into their favor?
Yeah, this works into their favor for the group stage, but it works against them going into the playoffs. Because I think this is exactly what happened to OG last time. You can top the group stage with this one really solid style, but once you get into the playoffs, everybody has time to, like the one team that's going to check out your VODs is going to figure out what the hell you're doing and then try to beat you. Except in MVP's case, like they just did what they always did.
No, but I agree with you, actually. I do think that if you look at past events, I mean, Kiev major, pretty much any major, really, there's always 1 or 2 teams that, like you said, have their own style. They just ride it into the group through the group stage, but come playoffs, teams will be prepared for it. And more often than not, a lot of teams don't try and go, outside of their comfort zone. Be like, hey, you know what? We got just stomped in that one game. They totally countered our strat. Hey, let's just pull like some cheese strat. No, that doesn't really happen that often.
Yeah, that's okay. So this is going into a bit into like StarCraft 2 theory. Basically, the psychology behind like StarCraft 2 in terms of like planning the best of series is very similar to Dota 2, even though it's a team game. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's the idea that if you go out, you want to go out on like your best strat, you want to go out on your comfort strat, you want to go out on the thing you practice the most, and then even though you might think you have a read, it's like a very dangerous like gambly read. So most players don't do that, and then obviously like the greatest of all time players, some of them did do that. Most notably, like MVP did that in like Game 7 of his GSL finals, and that's why he's like the winner, right? But in general, that's like that's such an extreme like method to take that I feel like in a 5-man team in a 5v5 game, the most teams aren't like that crazy enough to do it unless you're extremely anime like the boy EE.
The boy EE. You know, even though they're not really as anime as Cloud9, Liquid in their finals recently, Dream League versus Planet Odd. Granted, yeah, it's Planet Odd, and granted, Dream League wasn't, it's like a tier 2 event at this point. But still, they were behind 0-2, and then they pull out like a Huskar. They're down 2-0. Sure, it's a best of 5, and if you go out, you might as well try your best. But still, it's and they did pull it around, and they started stomping Planet Odd in the next 3 games. And I don't know. I'm feeling very good about Team Liquid these days, mostly because I do think that if you look at their past games, they have been. They've not been too shy to try out different things. They've switched out Matuma Man and Miracle even, having Miracle playing as a carry and having Matuma Man playing as a mid, and it's worked out for them.
Yeah, I know Kuroki isn't the type of guy to hide anything. Like, he doesn't believe in that crap. He's more of like you do your best, and then if something comes up, you adapt to it.
Right.
Like, I think that's like his general philosophy on this. So if you're just looking at like recent results, yeah, like that particular tournament isn't like that cream of the crop, but it did show that Liquid is like pretty ready for this event. I still haven't seen enough of like Kuroki as a captain to know if he's like one of those guys who does choke out a TI, because this is going to be a second one, right? So yeah, it's the second one as a captain. Yeah. As a captain, that's what I meant. He's been a TI before, and like he's done good. He's done like mediocre. Like it's been across the board. But in general, like as the captain of the ship, like I've never. This is like new territory-ish for him. So, yeah. Do you think they're better than EG though? That's the question here.
Oh well, that's a good question. It's difficult. I ultimately think when it comes down to. And I think with EG, I mean, we've talked about this before. With EG, there's a sort of pseudo cheese thread where if you feel like your back's against the wall, what you just do is, you make sure that Sumail and Universe have a good lane, and you just hope for the best, pretty much. And most cases, Sumail and Universe do pull through. So in that sense, I think if it comes down to that, like if EG, for example, against Liquid, if they just said, hey, we're just going to go all in on Sumail and Universe, and it would be up against Miracle and Matu, or Miracle and or Matu and or Miracle and Mind Control or whatever. I'm not sure if I would give Liquid the edge there. So I think Evil Geniuses will always have the edge in terms of individual skill. Not that Liquid is bad by any means, but Sumail is just Sumail.
Yeah, because if you just look at individual players, even without PBD here, like a bunch of these players have proven themselves to be clutch players in the Zai, Universe, Sumail in particular. I don't think Arteezy is, and I don't think Crit isn't playing a role that necessarily he can carry from anyway, so it doesn't really matter for him. So when it comes down to it, like if you're going into a high pressure situation, you have like the core 3 of guys who went super hardcore, like in like hard situations, like. What was it, a Secret? Secret, when Zai was there, like he basically hard carried that team as far as he could, that TI, because everybody else was like dying around him. Universe, obviously, he has like the super clutch play that won TI. Sumail has always been great. So, I mean, those are. If we're gonna talk about like clutch gene or clutch factor, it definitely goes to EG over Liquid.
100%. I will say that I think I could. The thing is, in Dota or in any game really. Sometimes there's like this, rock, paper, scissors sort of mentality or, theory, I guess. EG, in my opinion, most likely is always going to beat Liquid, but I think Liquid has the tools pretty much beat any other team here. They've certainly proven so in the past, beating OG numerous times as well, and the Chinese teams as well. So I don't know, I think Team Liquid has a good shot here overall, but Kuroki has a bit of a stigma of being like a choker when it comes to drafting in like crucial games. I mean, I know I've talked about him being good lately, right? But it is a trend that he is getting really good at, in my opinion, at having different strategies available to the team. But in the past, in the past, there have been instances of him sort of like choking during drafts, or at least some people assign him that sort of like choking attribute in that regard. So.
Mm.
I don't know.
I
It could be
mean,
difficult.
yeah, but I don't think like how do I say this? I don't think that's gonna be a critical factor in the particular EG matchup. It might be overall.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Now I think we've talked sufficiently about Team Liquid. How do you feel about TNC? You know, the Filipino sort of underdogs. I wouldn't call them underdogs. I think they're actually probably the best C team right now, and you know, they've made enough of a splash.
I mean, there's so little data on this team. Like, there's only the TI qualifier, isn't there? Like, did they go to anything else?
They did go to this Starladder event, you know, where Team Liquid won. They placed second.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That was just pretty much just days after they picked up 1-4-3-7 as well.
Yeah, but that was like a very like that was a strange one because
yeah, it wasn't also that big of an event either, like in terms of quality.
Yeah, and I remember like they totally met Newbee in round of 4, so that's why I remember. That's why I just remember that actually. It's like you met Newbee in round of 4. Congratulations. Move on to the finals. Like I don't know. What I saw from them, I like. And I generally think like SEA or whatever you want to call it is very similar to China when it comes to TI, in the sense that whatever team they have there, like 1 or 2 of them will show up, or in the case last time, like 3 or 4 of them showed up. Like there's something about like their style, I think, and the fact that maybe it's because they don't overcomplicate it for themselves, or maybe it's just their particular style is good for this high pressure situations, that they perform better at TI in general, like relative to what you're expecting.
I think, and this is something, I mean, it's not obviously as easy as this, but I think their style is very easy to make confidence plays. When you're like in a pickle, when you're like really pressured, when you're feeling the crowd, and maybe even you're behind 0-1, it is very important in Dota to just get like confidence plays. You know, you just get like a crucial kill in the laning stage, or find that courier kill, or just taunt the enemy in some sort of way to make them tilt, and yourself gain confidence. And I think both SEA and even China to a degree, it's just easier to get those plays, or to make those plays, and I think their mentality also encourages it. MVP certainly does, and I think TNC, you can also put them into that basket. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think TNC is, I don't know, I think it might hurt them that everybody has them on their radar right now. Last year they weren't necessarily on anybody's radar. They were more underdogs, more so than favorites or anything. And right now they're like the strongest SEA team, where people look at them as the strongest SEA team. So it might be difficult for them to, especially in the playoffs, to cause an upset.
Yeah, unless they get like a stylistic matchup, or unless they get a stylistic matchup, I guess. Like, it's hard to say because I don't really understand. I won't say understand, but I haven't really followed like 1437 around as his like captain or coaching career. So I'm not sure exactly how much change he has, like, or how much identity change he'll bring to this team. That's my major like question for this team. Because if it's just regular TNC, I'd say they'd go far if they like didn't run into Faceless or something. But this isn't really that TNC, right? Like, even though 4 of the 5 parts are basically the same or similar, there's 1437 and whatever he brings in as leadership. I mean, leadership is something that this team always needed. Like, Jimmy Demon Ho like took out OG last time, right? So that's the question for TNC, I guess, is how well can 1437 like band this team together.
And they also have the unknown quantity of Kips as their coach.
That's true.
She's only been in the scene for about a year now, I guess a year and a half. And because the coaching scene in Dota is still so young, relatively, it is very difficult to see how much impact a particular coach has on a team. I'm not sure if you remember, but I did an interview with AUI, right? And he told me that Bulba, for example, was the one to push for EG to go with the CDEC style at TI5, right? If they hadn't done that, who knows if EG would have even made the finals. And that just goes to show that a coach in Dota can have a lot of impact, but obviously because the coaching scene is so young and we don't really get to know the coaches just yet that much, it's difficult to say how much impact her coaching has on the team.
And here's the thing: she could be a good coach. She could be a great coach. She could be even the greatest of all time coach for all we know. But does that mean her style of coaching is good for this team? We don't know.
Exactly.
There are teams that need like personality coaches. There are teams that need like management coaches. There are teams that only need an analyst, so to speak. And can you connect with your players? Can you figure out? Because here's the thing: like this happens a lot in CS:GO, where like basically, basically, I've read a bunch of interviews. Like coach, or the biggest problem with a coach is they can analyze a billion things, but you can't give. You have to know the players well enough to know how much information you should give each one of them.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know her, so I can't really say how much impact she'll have. It could be great, it could be nothing. I don't know, right?
That's a good point. Yeah. All right, moving on from TNC to one of our favorite teams, the biggest. How did you colorfully describe it? The best onliners of our time.
Yeah, the greatest onliners of our time. iG.Vitality. My God, they did it again. My onliners, they always do it. They always do it in the Clash Online.
It was so hilarious when I found out that the qualifiers like once in like 4 years was not on LAN but online, right? It was insane.
It was the greatest setup. I knew it. I believed in my onliners, and they pulled through just like always. And they're gonna fuck up just like always on LAN.
You don't think they have any shot at all? You know, maybe like maybe at least
make
top four, maybe.
They choked at every LAN except like maybe one of them, and I think one of them had a lucky bracket or something.
Yeah, I think they won WCA, but it's WCA. So.
It's WCA. It's like not even like a tournament in my mind, except for the fact that I gave a bunch of money. So shout outs to them for getting free money. But yeah, I don't believe in iG.Vitality. Like, sure, maybe online they got a thing going. All right, you know how I said coaches, like you have to figure out their role. If I was iG.Vitality, I was like the manager of that team. What I'd do is I'd hire a hypnotist for my coach, and then for every game, I'd be like, "Look into this pendulum. This is an online game." Like that's what I'd do, and then they'd probably get fired. But this is reality, and they don't have a hypnotist, so
it's actually insane how different iG.Vitality is between online and LAN, and so consistently as well. You know, usually a team like shakes it off at some point. Given sufficient LAN experience, but I don't know, they just do it over and over again. And I don't think TI is going to make it any better because this is the tournament with the biggest amount of pressure ever. And
all right, I do have one solution for them. What they have to do is once they land at the hotel, they have to find Bulba, and then gain confidence from looking at Bulba. Maybe that's the key.
Looking at Bulba.
Yeah, the eternal envy answer, right?
Yep. All right, iG.Vitality. I don't know. I have them as my probably. I have very low expectations for them.
I have them like bottom 5, and then I think they're gonna drop out pretty early.
Doesn't seem too unlikely. All right, move on to LGD-Gaming. LGD-Gaming. Before we get into the team, I wanna say something. I did consider writing an entire article about maybe because I think I don't know. I thought the title was cool. Maybe now. But
maybe now.
I will say that what impressed or what stands out to me the most about maybe, and that's the point I was going to make in the article, this is a team that he formed. This is literally a team that he formed. After TI6, LGD pretty much disbanded LGD.
Yeah.
They said, all right, maybe you choose your 4 players that you want to play with. And then he chose a team, and they qualified for Boston and were considered to be the best Chinese team. And the only reason they got eliminated early is because they met the one team that could beat them because they've been scrimming together every single day. It's LFY.
Yeah, I remember God shall wait.
they got shall wait. And then you can
play as good as you want, but if you shall wait knows, he knows. Like.
He knows. So they've made a few roster changes since, and they've become really really good again. But the point is, the last team that maybe actually formed was CDC. That CDC that placed second at TI5. Those are 4 of those players, except for Shiki. They were originally formed by Maybe to have it was supposed to be like a team that elevated Maybe. And when he left, they just became really,
they became much better without Maybe.
Yeah, they become much better.
Even though Shiki is like a trash player, they became much better without Maybe.
But I don't know. I think I think there's something there. I think Maybe recognizes the talent. I mean, the players that he's chosen now, they're awesome. I mean, they've been around the scene for a while as well, and it's not like they came out of nowhere or anything. But he just united them under his leadership, I guess, and now it works. And I don't know. I think this is the time where Maybe could potentially, not necessarily win, but I do see like a top 3, top 5 potential for them.
Basically, you think this is like maybe his best chance so far.
Yeah, so far, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I do like this team. But a part of me was wondering, what if some guy got a visa issue and then Xiaowei came up and like ruined them? That's what I was thinking, but it didn't happen. Like bullet dodge, Xiaowei didn't come to kill you. That's good for them. Like, I don't know. Here's the thing. I liked the last time I saw them was at the summit, and that was like a different patch. But everything I saw from them, I liked. Like I felt like they were like clicking together, like the skill, the teamwork. But then they got the crap kicked out of them by Virtus.pro. It was like made me wonder a bit. Like made me wonder a little bit. What'll happen? Because Virtus.pro is only like one among like the favorites, right? So that's it. Just makes me wonder how do you do? Like maybe Virtus.pro is just a bad matchup, but how do you do against the other teams?
Right.
Like how do you do against Newbee if it's not like a later playoff round, for instance? Like, but then it's not like Newbee's doing great right now either. So
I will say that for LGD, I think what they have going for them is I think having LFY as a sister team really helps them out, because if you look at how they play, I think a lot of their strategies
come from LFY.
are very similar to those of LFY. And and if you take LFY strategies and drafts, and then you add like LGD's individual skill to it, because Ult 11 is still one of the best offlanes in China. Not that that's really difficult, but still. And maybe is obviously one of the best mids in the world. So if you add that individual prowess to their strats and their the drafts, I think you pretty much have like the best Chinese team right now.
Yeah, I mean, DDC, man, he's a fucking genius, obviously. Because if you think of, or I guess both maybe in DDC are geniuses, because maybe convinced DDC to make this team, and the DDC somehow got super and inflamed to be good. Not good, but like he somehow got them to work. And maybe he's like, yes, you're so smart, DDC. Now help me out with this, with these strategies, with these drafts. Like, okay, and then like he fucking got the dream team and the strategies from come from LFY, because I think LFY's teamwork and strategy is better. But
I agree.
Here's the fact by osmosis, because they're practice partners. LGD is getting all of that.
Yeah. Well, LGD, they look to be a favorite for this tournament, and it's also one of those teams that I think can deal with being favorites. Yao has been in the scene forever, pretty much. Maybe has been in that position numerous times, and even though he's 19 years old or something, he's never really faltered either.
Yeah, like basically, maybe he's only ever lost to people who were better than him in like a certain patch, like Sumail, but that's not really choking so much as he just got outscaled like that. That's gonna happen. Sumail had Storm Spirit. What were you gonna do?
All right, next team, I guess. Fnatic, also one of the SEA representatives. Reps. Scant, big shout out to him. Scantor on Twitter, he wrote an article about them, which I think is very insightful. He pretty much just said, and I mean, obviously, I think his analysis is pretty spot on. He said that Fnatic currently they have like 5-star players. Like this is pretty much the all-star team if you look at Southeast Asia, except for maybe Mushi and Ice. This will probably be the best players individually that you can find in SEA. But the issue is that combining the best players isn't always going to yield you a win. But what they did is they just revolve all their strategies around Kyo. They're like, all right, we need to
call it
one.
We call it MVP 2.0.
Yeah, pretty much. But unfortunately for them, I think that, like Scancer pointed out, I think that's like a very big weakness to exploit also. Sure, if it works, but...
That's a hilarious weakness to exploit, because you can call these guys all-stars if you want, but QO is only good at one style.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's like punching people in the face. Like literally that caveman style, and like metaphorically, like with his fucking, or I guess the other way around, metaphorically with his melee heroes. Like he needs to punch somebody in the face. I don't know why. And
even in that style, he doesn't really he's not the best laner. If he's gonna lane against like maybe or Sumail, he's gonna get trashed. And
of course he is.
If you have a strategy revolving around a guy that's getting trashed in a 1v1, that's a pretty bad strat. I'm gonna tell you that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Here's the thing. I think it was a great quote. Let me try to find it. It was from one of the old MVP players. It was so hilarious. It perfectly explains why MVP kept doing so well. Oh, it was from March. Basically, he explains the MVP of last year's entire philosophy. If you run at people, you're gonna break them. That's literally what MVP was. That is what this Fnatic team is. Yeah, I'll give it to everybody. One-dimensional. Strategically, if you can figure them out, they should be beatable. But on the big stage, under the pressure, Fnatic's style will make chokers crumble, and everybody chokes a little bit at TI, and that's why I thought MVP going far last time, and that's why I think Fnatic have a very dangerous chance of going far this time.
And hey, Fnatic even last year, without these, with only
DJ.
Yeah, they proved that they can go far. Like they don't necessarily crumble that much under pressure, and that's a dangerous team to look out for sure.
Yeah, like if you look at this team, like 4 out of 5 of them, none of them have really crumbled under pressure. QO, Febby, like they play exactly the same as they always do in an MVP. Ohio, pretty clutch. Not like. Yeah, pretty clutch overall in general during all of his TI runs. DJ did great last time. The only guy you have a question for is iG, but that's like 1 out of 5.
Yeah, and even iG, I think, showed at the Boston Major that he was definitely one of the better players in WG Unity. Him and Afu pretty much, I wouldn't say carried the team, but they definitely led the charge for that team at the Major there. So. This is Fnatic is definitely a team to look out for. It's one of those cases where they could go anywhere from probably not last place, but maybe like 9th to 12th place to maybe even top 4 if things go their way.
Yeah, like it'll depend on the opponents they get, but if like I said, it's their style. Like their style is just to break you, like just psychologically, kind of.
Oh yeah.
So dangerous team, fun team.
Next team then, Team Secret. Team Secret also in Group A. They've not necessarily looked so hot during Dream League. That was a bit of a bummer. But, in the qualifiers at least, they did really well.
Yes.
I did I wrote a preview for TI and I did the European teams. And for me, Secret is one of these teams that is going to consistently crush teams that are below them, but also consistently lose against teams that are above them, if that makes any sense. I think certain teams can always sort of overperform, but with Team Secret, I just don't see that right now.
I have never seen Team Secret overperform.
Not the current iteration, anyway.
Every iteration since the EE one. Yeah. Every iteration since like EE one, like the major, basically.
Yeah.
Like here's the thing. If you want to think about Secret, think about it like this. When they had Eternal Envy, there was like extremely high variance at that team. So basically what would happen is they'd have like a puncher's chance to like kick the shit out of everybody. This Team Secret doesn't have a puncher's chance. Like this Team Secret, like you could say, for instance, like maybe they're better than TNC, maybe they're better than Fnatic. But if I had to bet which one of the 3 could get the farthest, I'd rather bet on TNC or Fnatic, because they have like higher variance to their playstyle because of like the psychological pressure of like attacking all the time. Right. Secret is like stable. Secret is consistent. Secret will get out of the qualifiers, and Secret will not do well at the main event. Like that's like the essential problem with this team. Like they don't have the high variance that you need to like create upsets. Like even in all the old like Na'Vi lineups where Puppy was leader, they always had that weird variance to them. Like they always had like a chance. Right, this team has never shown me they've ever had a chance.
That's true.
Like against like the better teams, right? Like that's the like there's always like a question when you're like a tier 2 team is, do you want to be able to beat all the teams below you consistently, or do you want to be like inconsistent, like have a higher variance, but you get a better chance at getting farther? And in the case of TI, you want to be the second type.
Oh, 100%, yeah. That is definitely an issue, I think, going forward with this team, even after TI. I mean, unless they sort of like grow onto the next level, sort of, I just don't see this Team Secret being, amazing or anything like that. I think, like you said, I think they will consistently qualify for events and consistently get, into the playoffs probably. But after that, I don't know. What are they going to really show us? I mean, for all I know, they're going to place first again, and then they're just going to bomb out again out of the playoffs. So
I guess I'll give them one thing. SG Esports is not here to ruin their day.
They do have Infamous, though, in their group.
Oh, yeah, there is Infamous in there.
There's the SA Power, the SA Pride, but we'll get to them later. Let's talk about Team Empire first. Team Empire have a bit of a visa issue right now in that Sheppy doesn't have his passport. That's like the worst visa issue to have. You got your visa, but the embassy still has your passport.
That is the worst.
That is the worst. They will probably have one of the best stand-ins they could think of, probably Resolution.
Yeah.
If Chappie doesn't make it, but it is a stand-in nonetheless, and a pretty. I think that's actually out of all the players that you could replace in Empire, I think you wouldn't want to replace Chappie. Obviously, I don't know how the dynamics in game work, but Chappie just has such a weird hero pool that it opens up the strategies a lot. I mean, teams have to consistently ban Meepo against Empire. That doesn't happen with Resolution. If you have Resolution, teams are not going to ban Meepo against you, and that just takes away so much from draft advantage from you.
Yeah. I don't think Team Empire is like that strong right now. Like, have you seen them play?
At the Summit, obviously, but
yeah.
I think at the Summit they pretty much showed that they're not like a team to be reckoned with right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, in their bootcamp, they could have progressed a lot, but I think at that time they just looked like a team that's probably just gonna be bottom like 6 or something.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the visa issue sucks, but it's hard to figure out exactly how far they have gone or how far they will go, because it's not like the entire thing's been resolved yet. I will say that psychologically, it could go either terribly or good if either the two things happen. Either he gets his visa and like everybody's super elated, like, oh fuck yeah, we're gonna go into this, right? Or it can go like terribly, like you get Resolution and then like, oh, everything's fucking ruined. But on the plus side of that, I guess, in terms of pressure, you're like, oh, everything's ruined, but you know what? Nope, there are even less expectations with Resolution on board, so maybe. Like you just play your game, but that's very dependent upon like the player mentality, I guess. Team Empire's, the entire org has always been kind of weird. Like every iteration of every team they've always had has been weird. Like if I had to say it, it's like for a moment you think they're gonna break into it and then they don't.
Pretty much.
That's like the TLDW of Team Empire in Dota 2. You're almost there, but you didn't make it. Like that's how it felt for every fucking Team Empire team.
It's weird because pretty much. Like I think every iteration, obviously they have been a top team with some iterations, but you always thought, hey, they could really be the Navi bought their players. Yoku thinks he needs to play mid. I don't know.
That guy, man.
That guy. I think that TI5 Empire could have legitimately been one of the best CAS teams ever if that continued or whatever. But oh well. I think that pretty much wraps up Team Empire anyway. Like I said, there's not really that much data to go on either.
Yeah.
Not that Infamous is any different, to be honest. I think I think outside of the qualifiers, they've only played like very tier 2 events online as well. They've not really been to a LAN as far as I can tell or recall. I think they were at WSG, but also with a slightly different roster. So I don't know. It's very difficult to talk about them. Do you think the whole underdog thing is that something worth considering with Infamous at all?
Are they even good enough to take advantage of that fact? That's like the question you have to ask. Yeah. I mean, SG did it, but that's like a completely different thing.
And it's also a completely different format as well. Like the whole underdog thing in a single elim works much better than in a double elim. In
double elim and then round robin groups on top of that.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's going to be tough. I will say, for them, if I am in Group A, the 3 teams I probably won't bother. Actually, I won't say 3. I'd say 2 teams I won't bother scouting at all. iG.Vitality and Infamous, because Infamous isn't good enough, and iG.Vitality are onliners. So the rest. So if they can take advantage of that fact, then I think they could maybe pull like 1 or 2 upsets, and that might be enough just to get them into the playoffs. Maybe.
Maybe.
It's hard to say, right? Hard to say, because I really don't believe in iG.Vitality, man. They're truly the greatest onliners of our time. Yeah. So I mean, that's like a there's like chances there, but here's what I do if I was Infamous. When do they find out their first team match?
You already know the group stage match is already out.
Yeah, I mean we know now, but did they find out earlier?
Oh no, they pretty much found out at the same time.
Okay, so that's probably not enough. That's okay time to prep, but not like enough time, I think. So I guess what they have to do is, I'm not sure how analytically minded they are, but there's two choices, I guess. One, you play a high risk, high variance style, which is actually what Peru already does.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not bad. So maybe they just stick to that. The other is like to pick a style that's good, or develop a style or play a style that's good against the majority of the teams, and then run for the upset that way. But these are shots in the dark. I really don't know enough about the players to figure out if they even have like personnel or if they even have like the idea of how to do that. That's about as far as I can think of, like without seeing a lot of their games.
Yeah, I don't know. I think historically, a lot of teams that aren't necessarily among the favorites, or are potentially looked at as the underdogs. Some of them have definitely tried the whole, we're just going to copy like a strat that everybody else is running, and I don't think it's ever really worked. So I think it would be best if they just stick to their own guns and be like, hey, you know what? I mean, we're just going to pull our own shit. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, at least we can look back and be like, yeah, we stayed true to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if you do like a strat that's similar to other players or like other teams, you're basically a lesser version of that team. You're going to lose anyway.
Exactly.
So, like I said, the high variance style is better.
And hey, I mean, if you look at some of the games, some of the players definitely do play like really weird heroes, like Tinker and all that shit. That not necessarily isn't necessarily meta, but because it's infamous, you probably want to ban like the really comfort heroes, because if you're playing against an underdog team, you want to make sure that they get as restricted as possible, and that could play into their favor. But like I said, it really depends on whether or not infamous actually takes advantage of that. Mm-hmm. I guess that leads us well into Group B, where we have, so, I don't know. If you look at some of the discussion online, I didn't really want to talk about, which group is better or not. But some did say, Group B might look a bit more dangerous than Group A. I've actually also heard it the other way around, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean, obviously, Group B is more dangerous because Group A has iG.Vitality, the great winners of our time.
And Group B has Cloud9. Cloud9, the biggest variance team in the entire tournament, probably. They could go anywhere
much.
From
second to last.
Actually, see, the thing with Cloud9 actually is that they've consistently been still very. I don't think they've ever gone out like bottom 8 at any live event. I'm not sure right now.
Yeah, maybe. Not yet. Yeah. But I mean, they've basically been together for like pretty recently, right? That this particular lineup hasn't. They've only been together for like a few events.
Yeah, no, but obviously I'm also like talking about the old Cloud9, right?
Okay, the old Cloud9 too. Yeah.
But still, it's definitely. You know what? Let's actually talk about Cloud9. How do you feel about them? I mean, we've talked about Cloud9 a lot, but how do you feel about them for this TI right now?
I feel like I feel like if you ignore all these psychological factors that go into that team, I feel like they'd be a pretty legit team to like back for a deep run. I feel like the team chemistry is pretty similar to what they had before. Like basically everything's the same, except now they're better as players. Some of them, and like Fada is basically the best he's been since the last iteration of Cloud9. Eternal Envy's about as good as. I don't think he's reached like the secret levels of like best player, best carry like levels. Like when he was on Secret for that little bit of time when he was like kicking shit out of everybody.
Yep.
MSS is pretty consistent and pretty good. IUI's been pretty good. Palai Dai has always been Palai Dai, but he hasn't been like exceptional lately. But I mean that might just. But he can turn it on at any time. So I feel like as a team, as like strategies, they're good. But then you get into the weird psychological factors, and the weird psychological factors is first like Eternal Envy, like even though like we call it the 50-50, and like in actuality he's generally been more good than bad, except at TI where he's been just mediocre or okay most of the time. Because I think Eternal Envy's problem is like he treats this as if he understands like the gravity of the situation, because he believes, and like a lot of people believe, like you have to win TI if you ever want to be the greatest of all time, and that's what Eternal Envy believes. So he doesn't treat this as like normal event. So psychologically speaking, he's already putting more pressure on himself, and then like he turns off social media, which you should do at almost every event anyway. But he only does it at this event, so like that adds even more pressure. And like there's other problems going, like all that shit can get into your head if you're not playing this out like normal. because that's it's kind of a fucked up thing, but it's true for a majority of the best competitors. Is the fact that the reason they are the best is because they're able to like stay composed in like the highest like biggest moments, and that's generally why like the StarCraft 2 community always hated the Koreans, is because those guys are always looked so composed when they were like kicking shit at everybody. But that's what you need. That's like the key. Right. That's the key to success, so to speak. So that's like kind of my problem with Cloud9 is the team as a whole has always been good. It's always been fun, but like just psychologically speaking, like this, they're always like a bit like out there, and then it kind of like implodes even worse at it can implode even worse at a TI, and then on top of that, what did the PBD call it? Like a bit too theory crafty for me. Yeah. Maybe they might do a bit of that too, and then that's a bit dangerous.
Which is hilarious because PPD. I remember when he kicked AUI, it was one of the reasons, one of the things he listed as why they didn't really get along as players. Like AUI just talks too much, But yeah, regarding Cloud9, I think what I like to sometimes think about is, how we talked about EG and having the clutch factor. They have Zai, they have Sumail, they have Universe. That there's those players that can always come through and be like, all right, I'm going to carry this team. When I look at Cloud9, I think
you have the reverse.
No, not necessarily. But I think with them, it's almost as if all of the 5 players could clutch it. But I think that's actually a bad thing, because in my opinion, you need some like very consistent factors. I do think that if we were to look at them, I do think that MSS and Fata would probably be the most consistent factors in this team. But overall, I just feel like there's no rock that they could always rely on to pull through in their games for them.
No I win button.
Pretty much. And it also sometimes, or most of the time, I just don't feel that they have 2 players being clutch at the same time. Sometimes you do need that. Sometimes you do need both Sumail and Universe to have like a great game in order to win. That's just how Dota is right now, or has been for a while now. And I don't know. I just don't really see like AUI and Envy going nuts in like in
the same game.
In the same game, right?
Yeah.
I just don't see that from this team right now, and I think this could be an issue going forward, because ultimately the longer the event goes, and the later the stage of the event, it just almost doesn't really boil down to like strategy or like drafts anymore. It just boils down to how clutch you can be, and I don't know, with Cloud9 right now, I'm not too sure about them, but I do think that they're like a solid top 8 team for me right now, potentially even top 5, because like we discussed earlier, they're like high variance. Yeah,
they're a pretty good team. I do like them, and critically, I think they're like the funnest team to watch, generally speaking.
100%.
Like I feel like this is like the only team where like you look at the results, and like they lost this game, but I want to watch it anyway. Just like maybe it went fucking crazy. You don't know. Like with Cloud9, you never know what you're gonna get, right?
100%.
I will say, if the Moon Meanders like caricature of Eternal Envy shows up, they have a really, really great chance. I'm not scared of Eternal Envy when he has like a 90% chance to lose. Only when he has like a 10% chance to lose.
That's when you need to be scared of Eternal Envy.
Yeah, like because he really goes out of the fucking box. Even though generally speaking, TI he's been mediocre. Okay, there was like one game, like I think it was 2 TIs ago, where he basically like stole a fucking game away when everything went to shit for all other 4 players as an anti-mage. Like he backstabbed and took a Rax.
Was that the Rapier game as well?
Yeah, it was the Rapier game. It was like maybe it was like the double Rapier game. I forget,
yeah,
but he went like hardcore in that game and almost like stole that game. So if that Eternal Enemy shows up and he shows up for the entire event, they have a really good chance. But if he doesn't, like I'm not sure.
Yep. All right, that wraps up Cloud9 for now. OG, 4 times major winner, current major title holder, but probably not a favorite going into this. I mean, as I say, not a favorite by like they're not the favorite, but they're probably still like top 4, maybe even top 2. How do you feel about OG right now?
OG, like I made a joke, like basically they buffed Alchemist, so therefore OG's gonna win this one, right? Generally speaking, they have good plans. I feel like they have great teamwork. I feel like if they get to the late game, they they're even more clutch than someone like EG just as a team.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with OG has nothing to do with them as a team. It's like them at TI, and specifically Fly. Like years from now, when we write down like who are the greatest captains of all time, Fly is probably going to be on that list. But when we write down who are the greatest captains at TI, Fly is not going to be on that list. Fly has never done well at TI. I don't know, like in some cases he hasn't had a good team, right? But like the other case he did have a good team and didn't go far. Like that's the kind of like the question you have to have here. It's not like he's had that many chances, I guess, overall, if you consider like what team he's been on and the specific circumstances. But generally speaking, like this is like the time. Like last time was supposed to be their time, right?
Right.
And they got knocked out by MVP with, like I said, Crush Minds, and then Demon with 4 Pinoys like took them out. This time, like they're not quite as favored, so maybe that'll take off some of the pressure, but that's still going to be a lot of pressure when you go into it anyway. So that's like the kind of question I have here for them is just as a team, if they can get through it, like because like they completely imploded last time, right? But it was different players. So different players, and I feel like Jirax isn't the type to implode, and neither is S4. So maybe that might be enough.
I think the S4 factor is a big one. S4, he's been on the stage numerous times, and he's won it before, which I think is a huge advantage.
He's won it before, but at Secret, like he was one of the worst players on that team for that TI run.
I will say though that I think the mid role has never really suited him when he was with Secret. They've even had like that period where they would try him out like as a sort of like carry even to have RTZ mid. I don't know. I feel like with Secret, I definitely do think that he was one of the worst players in that team in that iteration at least. But I do think that it is something. Now I think on the offlane now he's sort of like being reborn. I don't know. I feel like he's definitely one of.
Yeah, he's a better offlaner than Bulldog ever was.
Yeah, 100%. So right. I don't know. I think this team definitely has what it takes. But like I said, it is something worth looking out for. The fact that they are still favorites, even though they are not the favorite. They are still favorites. They've historically have imploded before, and it could technically happen again.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's difficult because it's still, technically speaking, it's still sort of like a young team, right?
Yeah. Like what I said about Eternal Envy technically applies to OG. Like in all their interviews, they're always talking about TI is the big one. TI is the one that matters.
Right.
Winning majors are nice, but TI is the one we're focused on. I guess just adding extra pressure to the mix, right? So, and even TI is such a weird event because it's basically like a pressure cooker. It's like the biggest pressure cooker for Dota 2, and it's why almost no team ever survives this event.
Right. And if anything, the fact that they've won 4 major titles could almost make it worse for OG in terms of pressure, because they know that they have it. They have everything they could ever wanted except for the Aegis.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, they legitimately have every trophy, I think.
Yeah, they have every trophy they've ever wanted.
No.
And
I mean, they have like the Eagle Song, the Reaver, and the Mystic stuff. That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, right? Because the major is supposed to be like a high pressure event, but they don't really think about it like that. But whereas TI is like obviously another level of though.
TI or bust. The thing is though, and this is if you look back at previous years, do you look at 2014 and think to yourself, hey, you know what, the teams that won like those in that tournament, that was great. No, you look at TI4 and be like, yo, Newbee won TI4. Obviously,
TI4.
Yeah, and obviously we didn't have majors back then, but still, you'll always look back on at the majors, at TIs, and think about those big achievements. You don't really necessarily look at the majors and be like, oh, I guess they won the major and they won that major. No, it's TI or bust.
Yeah, generally it's become TI or bust. I will say there are like if you dominate for a long period of time,
right?
That's like nice, right. But that's nice, and that'll make you like a legendary player. Like Burning's number 1 TI, he'll probably go down as like one of the greatest players ever, right? But you still want that fucking TI, man. You still want that fucking TI.
Right. All right. You know what? That's actually a good segue. Let's head into IG. How do you rate their chances at this event?
I haven't seen them in a while. Did Burning really go to the off lane?
He did. Only for a brief moment though, and it looks like they are doing it on a which hero suits you the best kind of basis. It definitely showed that they when they did have Burning on the offlane, it was usually on a hero that you've never seen XXS play before. So it seems to me, or it suggests to me, that they're doing this whenever XXS doesn't feel comfortable on a certain offlaner. You just put Burning there.
Yeah. So basically, Burning's continuing his life as technically a support.
Pretty much. I mean, hey, it's worked out so far. Might as well continue.
Yeah. So the question I have for this team is going to TI. I don't actually think they're a big target, and that should work out in their favor. On the other hand, there's a reason they're not a big target. That should work against their favor, right? So basically, like, the patch is, I won't say, maybe you can say exposed. Basically exposed like a bunch of their players for not having like the depth, which isn't their fault. Like, every player has specialties. Not every player is gonna be fucking Burning or Fear and play fucking everything, but it's always gonna be a problem when the patch changes and then what you can do about it. Because like, Q might be the mastermind. Q might even be like one of the greatest masterminds you ever seen in China, but that doesn't mean he can like convince XXS to play heroes he's never played before at a high level. Like, that's not something he can do. And that's like the question you have to have for IG, because they basically haven't been great since like the Monkey King DAC, and then like maybe a little bit after that. But even after that, like, was like the next run after that, I'd say it was more like just clutch factor rather than them doing anything particularly great.
Kiev Major, definitely, I agree. That was also like, I think Kiev Major, you could see that it was starting to crumble.
Yeah,
they still placed top 4, but I think that top 4 comes with an asterisk that if the constellation of teams that they had drawn had been different, I don't know.
Probably could have been taken out earlier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was not a convincing IG team. That was like the time I was like, oh, I got to get off this bandwagon. It looks like it's gone fire, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the problem with IG is basically they got the wrong patch at the wrong time. You need the right patch at the right time to win TI. I will say Q is a genius, and Q has like masked players before. The question is if there's too many players to mask.
Yeah, that is definitely a big issue going forward. I don't know. I think, in addition to that, I think both times where he has been successful, DAC and TI5, he's also had the benefit of, his team has played like the particular patch that they've been on for like for almost eternity. It felt like, right? Mm-hmm. Going into DAC, IG has been dominating the patch for like pretty much 2 or 3 months in China. But on this patch, I mean, yeah, you've not played any events, but scrimming doesn't really mean anything. Officials mean everything. Scrims mean nothing, pretty much.
Yeah. Shoutouts to Gambit for winning the major.
So yeah, I think that is a big concern. In addition to like you said, I think masking certain players or covering up for certain weaknesses. You also have the fact that you've not played a lot of officials on this patch.
Yeah, that's always a problem, because there are going to be leaders like that who actually need to play in the game to figure things out.
Yeah.
Not just pen and paper or not just scrims. So there's still a question mark for me. Like, I think Burning's still always good. Q's mastermind. It's like the other 3 I have questions about.
100%. Boboka also, I think ever since Monkey King sort of fell out of favor, he pretty much only has had spurts since, and that I just don't think is enough. I mean, even his Ricky is not as impressive in my opinion. Yeah. So I think this is definitely very worrisome for him. And OP is also a mid laner that, in my opinion, he could be clutch, but at the same time, I think he needs more support. I think one of the reasons why he's been able to be so clutch in the past months, is because the other teammates haven't been weighing him down really. When somebody has been sort of dead weight in the game, they've always been able to pull through for him as a team. But I just don't see like OP being that one mid laner like Sumail that be like, all right, I'm just gonna put all 4 players on my back and I'm just gonna pull us into the playoffs or into the next round. I just don't see that. And Burning is basically never in a position to do that either, because he's usually been like the sacrificial lamb for the team. Yeah,
basically he's just trying to help out the team. I will say this: if you ever see the IG team like draft anti-mage or Burning, that's probably going to be a signal fire that everything is going to crumble down soon. Because that's basically every Burning team has been like this. When everything's went to shit, they're like, What is one strategy that might win at this moment? And then they give Burning the anti-mage. And Burning might win the anti-mage game. He might lose it. He'll make it fucking close. And the next game, the other team will ban it, and then they lose.
Yep.
Like this happens like so many fucking times. It's kind of weird.
It actually has.
So if you see Q draft the anti-mage, you know IG's in fucking shit.
I will say that anti-mage has become much more legitimate in the meta right now. So technically, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're
okay. Yeah, maybe it's just a good one. But
generally speaking, you're 100% correct. Teams have traditionally just when they just didn't know what else to do, they just all right, Burning, please
give me my obligatory one anti-mage one Burning. Like what is this bullshit? You can't keep getting away with this. But insane. Burning keeps getting away with it.
Such a clutch player. I don't know. Burning is one of those guys. You just want him to have the title. I mean, he's gonna be legendary no matter what, but still. Yeah,
he's already gonna go down as legend. It's gonna be like one of the top contenders for greatest of all time. So, I mean, he still wants that TI though. Still wants that TI.
All right, next team, Newbee. I think we've sort of talked about Newbee a little bit before. We've definitely done so in previous podcast episodes, but Newbee, one of those teams that has traditionally sort of like choked in events, especially when it comes to getting into the final. They always place like 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. But they did win 2 events recently.
Smaller events.
How do you feel about that?
I still think they have the worst elements of Astralis and the worst elements of French CS:GO, like the one where they all choke at the major. Mm-hmm. Like combined into one team. This might be like the chokiest team I've ever seen in Dota 2. Even chokier than Cloud9, because at least Cloud9 won like a few big events, like MLG.
I think they only won MLG.
They won MLG. That was a big event. Newbee has never won a big event, as far as I can remember. It's been a lot.
I think the only notable event that this roster won was actually Nanyang Cup, like the first season, and even that wasn't that big.
That wasn't that big, right? Like basically, this team has never won a big event. Even worse, at majors they bombed out first. This is a TI. Like, if the fact that both groups have like really much weaker teams than Newbee, I might if it was more parity in the group, I might pick Newbee to go out last. That's how little I respect their ability to play under pressure. Like, it's so bad. Like, they have like Vietnam flashbacks or some shit whenever they get into like these high pressure situations in the majors. Like, how many times have we seen this team like go into major height and then fucking drop out like last? So many times.
It is rough with them. It is definitely rough with them. It is definitely questionable why this team, or it is, it's a good question why this team actually does so poorly at these big events. Especially since I think even if you look at their group stages, they're not necessarily even that bad. They still, I think you could definitely tell that this like is a legitimate team. But when playoffs come around, they just suddenly,
oh God, why? And then they die. Like,
really weird.
They are a strange fucking team.
And that's the weirdest part. They have so many good players in their teams. I think if you look at their players, they probably have some of the best individually skilled players in China as well. Like SECC is probably on par with Newbee, maybe like a little bit behind, but still. U9 is also one of the better carries.
Faith is good, Kaka is good, Faith is good. But here's the question: like I've always had, like this is why they're so similar to that Astralis TSM team I'm talking about from 2015. Like all good players on paper get to the big event, not like can't crack the top 4. But in Newbee's case, like they even like bomb out last. Oh. Like this is why I wanted them to change, bring in a clutch factor, bring in Xiao8 or bring in Hao or something. But they don't have that, so they're gonna just ride or die on this, and that's why I really don't believe them. If I took out all the psychological factors, I could say, yeah, this is the top team. Add in the psychological factors, I'm like, man, this team might just fucking bomb out before they even do anything.
I mean, for their sake, I hope they prove us wrong, but I definitely think
me too.
I definitely think you hit the nail on the head. Like, the Dawson and Kiev Major. Sure, you could, once is like maybe like an outlier, but twice, and pretty much in the same fashion as well. That's just very worrisome. A team that doesn't have as many issues, Virtus.pro. Their last showing was at the Summit, I believe, and they just pretty much told the whole world, F you, we can pretty much play anything we want. Talk trash about our hero pool once again, I double dare you. How do you feel about them?
I feel like Virtus.pro is this current iteration. They're like they are basically what? How do I explain this? The exact terms. It's as if you got YAEP put into the CIS region, and then he was able to control like the Divide. that is the Virtus.pro.
Yeah.
And then you also add in like the strip. You also add in the fact that he can also like moonlight as fucking what was his name, the guy from Wings, the drafter. I forget now because he's basically been like sent to the Nether Realms.
They basically did, yeah. Why?
But yeah, him. Why Innocence? Right? Like he basically apparently he can moonlight as like an Innocence drafter. Apparently, I didn't know that, but. Yeah, basically that's basically what I think of Virtus.pro is they have taken the best aspects of their region in terms of skill, in terms of play style, and they have controlled it. They have wielded it into like a gigantic hammer that can destroy people.
It is scary to go back onto the the clutch discussion. I think that Virtus.pro is a team where all 5 players can be clutch, and they still provide sufficient stability. That it doesn't necessarily matter if one of them doesn't clutch, or if one of them goes off. Usually he has sufficient support to make sure that he stays at the top as well. And that's the crazy part about this team. Like I don't feel the potential to not be good at Virtus.pro right now. From Virtus.pro right now.
Yeah, like I feel like this is like among all of the teams here. I feel like I might not put them as like. I put them as like the team that I feel will fail me the least. That's a
good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way.
They will fail me the least. They will show me good games. They will kick shit out of people. They've got the drafting down. They got the players. Even in like the major they lost, they were clutched all the way through. Basically, I felt like. So I feel this team's very good all around. There's no particular weakness. Yeah, like the one weakness we had was like maybe their strategy, maybe their drafting's too one-dimensional. No, apparently it's not. Apparently they can do whatever the fuck they want. Now the question is, when they are allowed to do everything they want, when they don't put these random restrictions on themselves, are they just gonna keep drafting Urza? That's my question.
I mean, it's in their it's in their logo. Yeah, I think you brought it up. Are they like contractually obligated to do it, or what the hell's wrong with them?
Like, what was it? It's like. I think it was something inside where like it was like this very funny thing where like every answer came back to Urza. Oh. Like, how do we beat the Urza? Urza's the fucking answer. Like, what's wrong with you people? Why are you like this?
It's also one of those things where you wonder, did they just specifically not draft their lineups because they didn't want Urza to be nerfed going into TI? Sure, they showed the world, hey, we have like a diverse hero pool, but at the same time they also made sure that they don't get IG. They don't get their favorite heroes banned before like the actual big event.
Yeah, they're playing the game outside the game.
Pretty much, and that is very scary. I don't know. I still think that despite losing the Kiev Major finals, to me they were pretty much like the winner of the event because the Dota they've shown throughout the entire event was scary. Honestly,
it was pretty fucking impressive, right? Like the only reason I think OG won that is because they really are like the clutchest team right now.
Or at the time, anyway.
At the time, right? Yeah. Like whether or not they like translate to TI, like I said, that's a question. Yeah. I will say for this is like a random side topic, but I'm pretty sure like the Virtus.pro CEO is like trying to make this team into his like CS:GO version of Dota 2. Like Solo, you're Taz. Like what? Yeah, you're Taz. And then 9 Pasha, you're Pasha. It's like what's going on? But,
I mean, he's already contracted them until like end of next year, so
yeah,
he's getting there.
He's trying to convince his team to stick together, basically.
I wonder if he's gonna promise Solo and Mercedes as well.
Yeah, but that's only if like Solo comes out with like crazy ass trash talk. We're gonna fucking win this event.
That's a good point. Oh, I wish we had like Taz in Dota, man.
Somebody that fucking crazy? I don't think there's anybody quite like him.
Yeah, I know, but absolutely golden. Go into like a post game interview and be like, "Yo, that player's a pussy."
Yeah.
You just don't get that in Dota.
Shout outs to Config. I do like this team. So, and like I said, the team that will fail me the least.
Yeah, I don't know, just
hopefully
fail
me the least.
It's
like, all right. When I was actually counting off like the teams in my head, I actually think Virtus.pro is my favorite to win.
They might just be. I don't know. I'm not there just yet, but I do think I think they're definitely top 3 in my head. I just, like you said, I think they're the least likely to disappoint me, or they will disappoint me the least.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's definitely a very fun team to watch as well. That's a cherry on top, right? It's a good team, but they're also fun to watch.
Yeah.
All right.
Unlike illusion teams.
Sadly, we covered OG already, but how about Digital Chaos? They don't pick illusion heroes, not that often.
They do not. I feel like it's kind of weird. I feel Digital Chaos basically. They have the. I feel like Bulba. I feel like basically Bulba answered all the reasons why he was so trash on Liquid, because he wasn't dedicated to the support life. Now that he's dedicated to the support life, maybe he'll be a better player. But more importantly, he has also decided to give the trigger button to Dubu, and I feel like that's like an important psychological evolution in his like mind state. Like he knows like he's not allowed to pull the trigger. It has to be Dubu who pulls the trigger.
I definitely think there are a lot of like it's just like a mentality thing, but there are people that are better suited to be like in the second seat, sort of, rather than being in the first seat and like being the leader or anything. I definitely think that Bulba, I think as a coach, has proven as well that he's very valuable when it comes to providing additional insight rather than being the one that has to lead his entire team. Obviously, in game he still calls a lot of shots, I'm sure, but it still, I think, helps him a lot to not be the leader of the team, and that makes Digital Chaos, in my book, also a pretty scary team because I think, if I look at them, I think they have a lot of strategies going in. Like I think they remind me a little bit of LFY in that sense, where I feel like they have their own strategies, but then because of Bulba or just in general, they also just have a lot of strategies to like counter other teams. When you look at the draft, it does feel like they always know what their opponents are doing, and it always feels like they have a plan going forward. Obviously, I do think one of their biggest weaknesses in that sense is that they just don't necessarily have the individual skill to actually pull through with it. But it is still a scary team to look out for, especially in the best, like in this round robin scenario where Digital Chaos being able to adapt to all the other teams. I think that's a valuable skill to have in such a large group stage.
I think they'll be more dangerous in the playoffs. Honestly, I think. Because I feel like Bulba and Dubu have enough knowledge in between them, and the fact that, like I said, Bulba is actually a choker too, but the fact that he's recognized this fact and then like giving Dubu the trigger finger like helps him a lot. So he'll be able to give this information that Dubu will decide, and it's also why I believe he's like I'd argue like the best coach Dota 2 has ever seen was Bulba.
Probably, yeah.
Like at least strategically, he's been the best coach, and the reason for that is because he has so much fucking knowledge about this game. Like not even just like he can go into the minutiae details, but I think he also understands the overall strategy and identity of every team he's like ever seen or ever played against, and that's a huge like asset to have on your team. But I feel like strategically this team is fine. But skill wise, you hit on the head. Like they're similar to LFY. Like LFY has Afu, he's great. Nobody else really I can think of that's like on that level. Digital Chaos have Abed and Forever, I think, are on a level. Like Mason's good, but like he's basically just this is like his first return since ever. I think. Like I can't really rate this guy, but I do know Abed's good. I do know Forever's good, and I do believe like if they want to like make a deep run, it's going to be off of the back of the two of them and the strategy. I think that's like their chance.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, and I think it's shown well, or rather, I will say though that in my book. That if you, and again, this comes back to you comparing them to other teams, EG for example. If in EG you enable Sumail, you almost 100%, like I think there's like 99% chance he'll come through for you. Mm-hmm. With Abed, I just don't see it just yet. Sure, I definitely do think that he's the key to their victory, enabling him and making sure that he's a good game and that your strategy also supports his playstyle. But even then, I'm not 100% sure that he's going to pull through for them. Like, if Sumail is like a 99% thing, or 99.999, then Abed for me is like 85, I think. Just because even in the qualifiers, and, Digital Chaos, they did look shaky going into the qualifiers, or during the qualifiers, I should say. They almost didn't make it. It was a bit of I wouldn't necessarily call it lucky, but it was a bit of a, good run at the end there. But it did look shaky, and part of that is, to me, also just Abed not necessarily pulling it through as much as he needed to.
Yeah, and that, I mean, he is like, I don't even know, like 15, 16. He's pretty fucking young.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He's like, I think he's 16 now or 7. No, actually, he's going to turn 17.
Yeah, he's pretty fucking young, and we also have to keep in mind this is going to be his first TI, so I guess if we put it that way, Abed's going to be the question mark for this team if they go far or not. Like, because I know Forev is going to perform.
Oh, 100%.
So it's going to be on Abed to join him if he can. And then Mason, who knows? Like I said, maybe for some reason nobody bans Weaver, and then they just win everything. I don't know.
Or they're gonna bring back, all his back then signature heroes, Mirana and Storm Spirit.
Yeah.
I remember he was one of the first to sort of, not necessarily revolutionize the Storm Spirit back then, but he definitely did a number there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about LFY then. We've sort of alluded to them a little bit already. We've talked about Alpha, we've talked about DDC being the great strategists and leaders and strat callers, whatever. How about the others? Do you think they have what it takes to bring LFY far?
Hell no. Super is crazy overrated. Like, he's not. He will have a good game sometimes. Like, I don't want to give it. I'll give a number, like maybe 1 out of 6 times, maybe 1 out of 5 times. The rest of the time, it's like this entire team is basically running on off of their strategy, off of their teamwork. And I feel like Afu is the only really great player in this team. And he basically convinced me Inflame is crazy over aggressive. And somehow DDC has managed to get him here. I think that just shows how good DDC is rather than how good Inflame is. Do you believe in anybody else in this team?
Not really. I do think that it definitely comes down to having the right strategies. I will say that I think Super. Well, I agree. He's 100% completely overrated. I do think that he's a sort of strat player. I think with Vici Gaming, what they did really well was running certain strategies around him with push. They've always picked Death Prophet, DK to make sure that both he feels comfortable, and then when he plays together with his team, I think Super can be a very good sort of support-ish player.
Yeah, I mean DK, man, basically don't die and you're good.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. And I do think if you put him in that scenario, it sort of works out. And I think DDC and Alpha have shown pretty much both in the qualifier and also Epicenter when they played with his team that they know how to enable the other players. I mean, in Flame, what they did was, hey, play offlane, but we'll make sure we'll still pick you a bunch of heroes that you used to play in the mid lane. Don't worry. And they just suddenly started picking Zeus offlane, and it worked so well that other teams started legitimately stealing that.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I do think that LFY have good chances of at least making I think they'll definitely make the playoffs, and I do think they have potential to go top 8. But I think it's very matchup dependent. If they face a team that can just outskill them, they won't stand a chance. But if they face a team that's going to try to outstrat them, I think they might have a chance. It sounds very easy to say it just like that, but LFY, I don't know. I just don't see them a top 6 team right now. I think top 8 with a bit of luck.
Yeah, top 8. Top 8 is, I think, their maximum. Yeah. I think they're similar to Secret in the fact that they don't really have high variance to them. They're going to have to outsmart people to win.
No. And even if they outstrat somebody, I think a team like Cloud9, for example, right? If
I think a team could just bullshit ability,
exactly.
skill, overpower skill, right?
Exactly. And I just don't see that potential in LFY because Inflame, Super are very shaky players that crumble very easily. Even if you do give them head start, they can be 10k net worth ahead and they'll still lose you the game. Monet is a very young player still. He just doesn't have as much experience either. Even though he's talented, I just don't see him on that level either. So I think that this team, top 8 is, in my opinion, the max. If they do better, I'll be happy for them, but I just don't see it right now. Mm-hmm. Execration then. Execration, another SEA representative. They sort of, made it last minute. They went into the tiebreak in the qualifier actually, and almost. I mean, they did crush it Faceless, but if it hadn't been for there was a chance they didn't even get into that tiebreaker. So. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Execration? Have you followed them at all, or have you been able to watch them at all during the qualifier?
No, but I will say kudos to them for finally killing the friendship stack. Ice is freed. Thank you, Execration, and also shout outs to them for killing the unclutch gamers. That's what I saw during their their run. I haven't seen. I don't really know how far they can go, or how good they are as a team. Do you have any information on that?
Yeah. So, and this is, I've definitely praised them in Raging Potato before, but I do think that, and this is something that Scan reminded me of. Raging Potato has been one of SEA's greatest chokers of all time.
Yep.
I mean, he's been in the scene for 5 years now, and he's been on some of the best SEA teams as well, with Mineski obviously. But he's also never really made it to like a big event either, or when he did get to a big event, he didn't make it far. So this is one of those things where, because I think this is his first TI. I'm not 100% sure right now. But even if it isn't, like, he just doesn't have the experience, even though he is such an experienced player, because he's never made it to these big events. He just doesn't have the experience to lead this team really far down the road. And I think in terms of quality, or in terms of team play, in terms of skill or whatever, they could have easily not made it, and I think not made it to TI. And I think that just proves, or just should go to show, that this team doesn't necessarily have what it takes to, go like top 10. I think they're actually a good contender or contestant for last place. I honestly think HellRaisers, or formerly Planet Dog, have a better shot at making out of groups at Execration. So for me, Execration, I don't see a lot of potential for them at this event.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, so speaking of HellRaisers,
yeah, HellRaisers, Planet Dog. That's a weird team, man. That's a very weird team. Legitimately, the only time we've seen them was the qualifier, and then like one tier 2 event that was online, and they've only played like 3 games because they then had to play the qualifiers, and then after they won the qualifiers, they dropped out of the event and be like, yo, we're too cool for this shit. We're just gonna boot camp. There's not a lot of data, but luckily I've been watching them even in that tier 2 event, and they are a cool team to watch, but I think they're just also, I think they'll make it out of groups. I think they will be better than Execration, but in playoffs I just don't see like a single chance for them.
Yeah, sounds about right. It sounds about where I'd place them too. I mean, I saw some of their qualifier games. Like, yeah, they're okay, they're good, but Europe was also fairly weak.
It was awful, honestly. Europe
was
awful.
Right. So I feel like they'll squeak by, not by their own merits, but because I think Execration is a bit weaker than them.
Yeah, and the thing with HellRaisers is, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen, is that they just don't have, even though they are underdogs, they just don't have that underdog sort of like pull. There's not like a particular strat or like a particular pick or even a particular player where it's say, hell yeah, he could totally like cause an upset if this team is not prepared for them. Just no. I mean, yeah, Kaiser is like a very explosive player. 3-3 has also shown like a lot of good stuff on his Darkseer, right? But I just don't see them like against any of these teams be like, yeah, we're gonna like totally pull like an SG Esports on you, right?
Yeah, not even like a puncher's chance.
No, not really. Maybe I'm wrong. Sure, I can be wrong, but I just don't see it right now.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like, because there's basically I'd say like 1 or 2 months. It feels that long. Maybe it's just 1 month.
No, it has been 2 months, I think, since the qualifiers.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Since the qualifiers, and there's been like 1 or 2 events in between, and majority of teams don't go to these events.
Right.
Like, a lot of things can change at that time, so we'll have to see exactly what they come with. And don't ever believe the scrim results. Shoutouts to Gambit again.
Gambit, and even in Dota, we had WG Unity at Boston Major. They lost every single scrim. Teams started to not want to scrim against them anymore because they thought it was a waste of time, and then they beat OG.
Yeah. Hurt themselves, really.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap this up, name me your top 4 for every group, because top 4 go to the upper bracket after all, and then also the team that is gonna drop out of the group. So basically, just give me a ranking, pretty much. Group
A, who do I think will drop out? Oh, I want to say iG.V so bad.
Trust your heart.
But no, man. Even though they're onliners, they're not that bad. I think they'll get. I feel like for Group A, I think you have to go with Infamous as last. But maybe unless like iG.V really shit the bed, I guess. As for top 4, EG, Team Liquid, LGD, and Fnatic.
You know what? I actually wanted to go that as well, or I am going with that as well. I thought you were going TNC, but I'm feeling
It was
Fnatic.
close, right?
I'm feeling Fnatic. Same. I was like for me it's a toss up between TNC and Fnatic in that top 4 right now. I think that EG, Liquid, and LGD are for me like fixed picks. But I'm also going to go with Fnatic over TNC. But yeah, it's a toss up. As for last place, I'm actually going to go with Empire. I think that Infamous. I don't know, I'm feeling it. I do think that they have a lot of potential to, it's the best of 2, so they just need to every game counts, every win counts. So just punching them here and there. I think they're gonna take a game off of teams that we might not expect, like Liquid, EG, and Empire. I think the whole Visa thing. I just think that
you think that'll be enough to fuck them up.
Yeah, I think it's gonna mess them up. Even if Cheppy does make it on time, and if it doesn't make it on time, it's gonna be even worse. I mean, you could even you can give him Sumail for all I care, but you're not gonna make the team better with the stand-in.
Yeah.
All right. Group B then.
Group B, I will go with OG, Virtus.pro, Cloud9, and then we get into a lot of confusion. Not going to believe in Newbee. LFY doesn't have enough skill. Not Execration, not HellRaisers. So we go down to DC or IG. My God, that's a terrible choice. My God.
It's like the opposite of Sophie's choice. It's like choosing the worst and the other worst.
I don't know. I guess I'll just go with IG, I guess. Could go either way, but I'll bet on IG.
And for the dropout?
Execration.
Yeah, same for me. I also have 3 of the same teams as you, OG, C9, and VP. I think something very crazy would have to happen for these 3 not to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm actually going to go with LFY. I'm feeling it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going with LFY.
LFY last?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say this, to wrap it up, I guess. Don't believe the group stages are real. What I mean by that is you can win your fucking group, but you could drop out last. Shout outs to OG from last year. And I feel like that's always the funniest thing when people get super angry about that, but the group stages is just it's just like the prelim.
Pretty much.
The real shit gets to when you get to the playoffs.
Pretty much, and everything is going to change after the group stage as well. The whole meta is going to change as well. I remember last year when everybody started picking techies in the group stage, and then for the playoffs it was pretty much only EG that played it. It's just these things just happen. For all we know, what Team A is going to do in group stage is not going to work in playoffs at all anymore. So. Yeah, that is why I actually want to do a preview for the playoffs after the group stage, but since the press day is on that day as well, I'm not 100% sure if we can do it. I'll try and figure out, but...
All right, well, just let me know.
Yeah,
but yeah, the playoffs are going to be completely different, especially because, like I said, the meta's out there. The best team is probably... The team that will always go far is the team that's overlooked and has a very specific answer to the meta that nobody else has technically has an answer to. Oh. But because there's so many fucking teams, nobody can study every team. So it comes down to who's getting sniped and who's not getting sniped.
All right, since there's a fair chance we might not speak again until after TI, give me a winner. Obviously, it doesn't. Give me a winner for the entire event. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily mean too much to pick a winner right now because, like we said, everything is going to change after group stage. But just give me a winner, just on a whim.
Virtus.pro.
All right.
You got one.
I'm feeling EG. I know that I know they're going in as favorites, but I'm feeling it. I think they're.
Yeah, you're feeling Arteezy.
Actually, I'm not feeling Arteezy, but I'm feeling Sumail, man. I don't know. If you look at the past months, it feels like Sumail has been ramping up to just become better and better every event. That's what it feels to me. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll
see. All right. It was a pleasure, Steven. Thank you once again for joining me. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was a very impromptu show. As you can see, I've been holding my microphone. Sorry for costing you ears. Holy shit. I've been holding my microphone. I've also been sitting in a kitchen, as you can see, and I even had to turn off the AC because it was so loud. But that's why I've been sweating like a pig for this entire episode. Hopefully we'll be back for a main event preview. I can't really promise it just yet, but we'll try our best. And stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter. Me at Skim Gaming, Steven at StucciWriter, and we'll see each other next time.
Yep. Later.